It's a red-hot mackerel bite on this week's World of Saltwater Fishing. I'll have the Mark 6 in Florida Bay, behind Islamorada in the Florida Keys, and bending rods with Richard Stanczyk of Bud and Mary's fame.
George Poveromo's World of Saltwater Fishing, where big fish don't stand a chance.
Spanish mackerel is what brought me down on my latest venture to Islamorada and the Florida Keys for two reasons. Nostalgia. It was a fun fish growing up, and it was part of my life, and I'd love to get out there and experience it again in full force. And number two, Spanish mackerel off the Florida Keys, especially in the backcountry behind Islamorada, is sort of like maybe an underutilized species, in that there's so many great fishing opportunities here. People don't even realize that Spanish mackerel run out here in really great numbers and could set up some exceptional fun and light tackle fishing.
It's interesting, Spanish mackerel have a tendency to show up here right around as early as October, and they're going to show up back there in Florida Bay, almost guaranteed, sometime between October 15th and November 15th.
Among the many fisheries that Richard Stanczyk has specialized in throughout the decades, he has a good handle on catching Spanish mackerel in the backcountry. And he and I spoke several times about trying to get together and do a Spanish mackerel show. That morning I met Richard at Bud and Mary's, jumped aboard the Mark 6.
We've had this horrific hurricane, and I have no fishing reports whatsoever. So we were kind of, going in, if you will, in the dark out there, hoping these fish were going to be there.
And he said our timing, he says, we could be right there in the cusp. Some of those fish could be in. And when Richard told me that, my confidence level went way up, because at that point I knew that we were going to get into some good Spanish mackerel fishing. We left Bud and Mary's, picked up and ran out that little narrow channel, made our way around under the bridge, and entered the backcountry of Florida Bay en route to Sprigger Bank. And Richard took me to this one area that we found some decent looking water. And he said the tide and should be with the wind. We looked around an area, and he said, okay, drop the anchor here. Drop the anchor. We're probably situated in maybe 8 to 10 feet of water. The anchor bit, gave ourselves enough slack, cleated it off, we were set.
And one of the little tricks we use is we have a tendency, and I mentioned to George, let's take that chum bag and drag it around in circles while we're looking for some potholes or possibly some structure. And that way when you get anchored, you've already put that line out there, that scent, if you will. And we could even see that slick formed on the water. It makes those fish a lot easier, to find us.
We first started off free lining shrimp without any jig heads. Richard said because of the colder water, my Simrad machine showed us at 76.5 degree water temperature. He said they might be a little bit lethargic early on, so what we want to do is give them a slow approach, nothing too aggressive. So basically what we did is we hooked the shrimp one of two ways. Either the hook went up through the horn of the shrimp, or we rigged it through its tail, pitched it out back, and pretty much just free lined it back with the tide. If a Spanish picked it up, he'd wind tight, set the hook, and go for it.
Sure enough, we got the boat anchored down, we got the chum going. Had to wait a little while, a little patience required, but you know what? Those big fish showed up.
And all of a sudden, bam, Richard's on.
This has got potential.
Cool, you just bring him outside if you could. You're fine, I'm under you here. I'm
not shaking his head quite like a mackerel, but I think it
ran a good run on him.
It's not shaking its head like a mackerel. A bit like a mackerel, though. We'll see.
It certainly did, didn't it?
It would make me feel a lot better if it was a mackerel. Huh?
Move this out of the way.
Yeah, he might want to screw with me here.
Coming around. You go under the anchor line?
Naturally.
I
don't think it's a catfish.
Oh,
it's a mackerel. It's snagged. The good news is, George,
well, we know there's one.
That's
a good sign there.
Nice one. Yeah, I couldn't figure out he didn't fight like a mackerel, but now I know why.
Get this out of your way, just Richard.
I don't know if I can get him around here or not. Maybe. Yeah, if I pull too hard, George.
I hear you. We got our,
All right.
we got our mackerel by hook or
We're
crook
not
on that one.
skunked. Yeah, that's nice. You know, it's interesting, George, with these mackerel, you'll
Yeah.
notice they're very recognizable in these beautiful black fins on the top, but you notice the dots all along
Yes.
the side. We've got another fish down here in the Keys called a Cero mackerel. Dots and dashes.
Yes.
You know, just like Morris Code. But that's the one we're looking for. It's the first one I caught in a long time and the first one of the season, so we're going to let him go
All right.
and see if he's got a bigger cousin swimming around,
And
right,
there
George?
he's out here.
All right, buddy.
No worse for the wear, pretty much.
Good.
We'll get
Good.
this out of our way. We'll get back to it.
It takes me back to my youth.
Yeah, me too.
I used to fish on the Sunny Isles fishing pier when I was 10, 11 years old, and if I could have caught that fish on those pier and that
Yeah.
pier in those days, I'd have been a hero.
Yep. I hear you.
Yeah. All right, let's see if we can attract a couple more.
Okay. That was probably the best sign of the day that we're going to get into Spanish mackerel because at least one was here, and when one's here, you know you have more.
George Poveromo's World of Saltwater Fishing, proudly brought to you by Mako. You'll find them where the fish are. Bass Pro Shops, your adventure starts here. Mercury Marine, go boldly. Simrad and the new NSS Evo 3 display. Go with Simrad and go with confidence.
We're in the backcountry behind Islamorada in the Florida Keys, catching Spanish mackerel. I'm with Richard Stanczyk of Bud and Mary's fame.
So then we had a good pick going. I hook up next. I'm fighting the Spanish now. There you go.
Oh, good fish, good fish. All right. All right, all right. Smoke and drags.
Yeah, it is.
That's what I like to hear.
Me too. Definitely Spanish mackerel.
Yep.
I love that. They're like these little speedsters, you know, like kings. They got those really fast bursts and
Yep.
there he is, trying to come up near the surface on us.
First cousin to the king mackerel, like a big kingfish.
I hear you.
But on light tackle, these are great fish. It looks like a good size one, George.
It is.
Yeah, that's not a little one. That's not a little one. That's the one you want to catch, buddy. That's a nice fish.
Bring it over here, Richard.
Okay, I'm going to have to get the dip net.
Pressure's going to be on you
I
in a
don't
minute.
remember the last time I dip netted a fish, George. So don't scream at me. Attaboy, take your time.
Yeah.
Take your time. Funny how when they see you or the boat.
It'd take a whole other shot of adrenaline on these fish, huh? And us too.
Yeah. Nice fish, George.
They hate the boat, don't
Yeah,
they?
Nice fish.
Got them nice and easy, bring them near the top.
All right.
Okay, Richard.
Go. That's a nice one. These are not the monsters, but they're not the small ones. These are the good fighting and fun to catch. Put that away.
You weren't going anywhere.
Get away.
So, Richard,
Okay.
when do these fish start showing up back here?
You know, actually, as early as October, and they'll stay here all the way through almost early summer.
Yeah.
But in big numbers, once that water temperature hits around 75, where it is today, by
Yeah.
the way, and usually mid-November. However, as you know, George, Hurricane Irma has changed everything. So they're a little late arriving because of a lot of the hurricane water. But you know what? We've caught a couple of nice ones already.
So far, it's going off.
Only going to get
What do
better.
you want to do, boat them or release them?
I'd like to release him,
Let's
George.
let him go.
You know, let's wait till we get a nice big one we can put in the smoker.
And off he goes.
Good job.
We had a good pick going on. I would get one, then Richard would get one, and that's the way that it was going. And it was a good, exciting bite. And the neat thing about it, it was a very relaxing type of fishing. Here we were, and basically under a bluebird sky.
You know, if I have my preference, you know, try to pick a day when the sky's clear, the winds are calm. You'll certainly enjoy it a lot more. But like I said, those mackerel are going to be there in the winter off Islamorada.
This is the first time that I ever had the opportunity to share the cockpit of a boat with Richard. And it was just having a good conversation and talking about the old days. He grew up on the Biscayne River Canal. That was one of the canals I grew up fishing for bass. And when I was a kid, we had a lot of old stories. And the day was just, something that would turn out to be a very memorable one for me. Then all of a sudden, it was like a lull in the activity. It shut down. We were catching some runners, some mangrove snapper, but the Spanish, it seemed to, whatever reason, disappeared. Hence, we made the switch over to a small jig, tipped with the midsection of a shrimp. Pitch it out back there, I'm watching Richard, hits the water, he gives it maybe about a 3 or 4 second count, then he starts winding it and whipping that rod. Wind, whip, wind, whip. Then all of a sudden, bam, rod bends, line screams off. Telltale sign of the Spanish mackerel. The adjustment seemed to be paying off.
All right, what a run that fish made. Wasn't it good? That was beautiful. Oh, look at that mackerel, George.
All right, take
Look at that mackerel.
I'll get a good shot when I can.
Oh, I think he's not quite ready. Isn't that a pretty fish?
It is. They just have those outside antics. They don't want to get in this net.
It's a big fish. Big fish. Take it easy with him, man.
Yep.
Sometimes, you know, you want to rush one and...
I know it.
All right, George.
Gee.
I told you, fight away from
did.
being a hero. Look at that lunker mackerel. Oh my gosh, that's a beauty. That's a beauty. What do you say? You want to keep one for dinner?
I say let's go and
We
do this
that?
guy here for
We'll
sure.
put him on the grill.
I agree. The fresh
All right,
mackerel.
That's a nice one. That's a pretty fish.
Well, I got
Pretty
one
fish.
for you. Put you on the spot. Cero mackerel and Spanish. They're both excellent eating, absolutely fresh. Which would you prefer to eat, Spanish or
No doubt.
Hang on, we
I'm
might
gonna have to catch
we
him
might not
again.
eat them yet.
It will be all right. No doubt it's going to be the Cero. They're much
I
lighter,
agree with you.
white meat, and totally different type of fish. There we go. That's a nice
Does this count for
mackerel.
2 fish now?
It does. Yeah, I'm only 12 behind you.
The way I fumble that, I look like I could try out for the Miami Dolphins.
That is a nice fish, though. That's pretty. Yeah, you know, I never tire of catching those devils.
Never. Making those slight adjustments and putting more aggression and more speed in our presentation was working.
George Poveromo's World of Saltwater Fishing, proudly brought to you by Penn. Let the battle begin. Rapala, your best shot at a world record. Float On, the original aluminum immersible boat trailer. ACR, the leader in marine safety electronics. We'll be right back.
The mackerel bite is hot. Richard Stanczyk and I have them chummed up in Florida Bay behind Islamorada in the Florida Keys.
It was around noontime, and Richard said, you know, I think we got to make a move. And it was sort of tough to make that official call because we had been doing quite well with the Spanish mackerel.
Well, you know, there's an old adage in fishing: never leave fish to find fish.
And you hate to leave an area that you have clean water, a decent tide, bait back there, trying to find another spot. But yet we finally made a decision. Let's pull the anchor up in the Mark 6.
And when we got there, I knew those fish were going to be there. The tide, the current, everything was lined up. Everything was right.
And this was the move of the trip. We started getting blitzed by Spanish, but these were the big ones. Richard hooks up, and you just see the line racing off that reel. Got a lot of pressure on you.
This is a big one.
It is.
Stay on there, fish. Stay on there. Oh, yeah.
Nice
that's a
silhouette.
Nice one, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Every
It's
bit,
a nice
every
fish.
bit.
Yeah,
Here, come down
yeah,
here,
a little foul hook to him. He's a good one.
All right.
He's a good one. This is a nice
Bring
one.
him down here for me.
You know, sometimes, George, I'd rather catch
Me too.
less fish and have them be bigger than more fish when they're smaller. This guy here is really giving me a money's worth here. Holy cow, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Yeah, I see that.
Gee, check this one out.
Pour this old man out.
You see the runs?
Pour this old man out. Whew, that's a pretty fish, isn't it?
An apple
the
jaw.
color
Yeah,
of it,
and look at the girth, how
Thick.
fat.
Yeah, like, you know what we call those things, George?
No.
Axe handles.
Axe handle?
Axe handles.
These fish were going off. You could see a definite uptick in the momentum. So I decided, you know what? If these fish are getting a little bit more aggressive, they're going to get a little bit more on the stupid side. These fish are getting stupid now, Richard.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to.
I pulled this one over an artificial.
That's good. That's good. They like it moving. George, that's a nice fish. That's a nice fish, George.
All right. And we had another surprise. Once Richard netted that fish, we looked, it wasn't a Spanish mackerel.
Here we. Oh, you know what? This is interesting. This is a Cero mackerel.
Hey, we got a
Yes.
Cero.
You see the difference, George? Look at
Yeah, I
it.
got
See
the
dashes?
stripes.
Yeah, this is a Cero mackerel.
have a
That's a
look at
nice
him.
fish. Yeah, nice fish. Mixed in with a Spanish.
Look at that.
Yeah, I'll show you the difference.
They should be over the bay side. I mean,
It
ocean
should be
side.
ocean side. Yeah, we'll get you to hold that.
Get
But you see how the we refer to that as the old telegraphs. See the dot, dot, dash,
Yes.
dot, dot, dash? Now that is my better one to eat, I think.
There's no doubt about it. Fresh Cero is incredible.
Yeah, it's a beautiful fish.
Check that out.
It's a beautiful
Ain't that
fish.
Rapper Coastal, that long cast, shallow runner?
Yep. Sure enough, we caught a half a dozen of the nicest fish we had all day. What was really interesting is that there were Cero mackerel mixed in with the Spanish, so it really capped the day, really topped it off, and took it from a good day to an exceptional day.
So we decided, let's pull the anchor, head to the barn, get back to Bud and Mary's, clean some fish, get regrouped, and we could go from there. Bud and Mary's is arguably the best known marina in the entire Florida Keys, if not in the state of Florida.
I always like to think of, as Bud Mary's is kind of like the Yankee Stadium, of the baseball world. You walk in there and there are pictures that date back 40s, 50s, you get everything from Jimmy Stewart to President Bush to, Paul Newman. There's been so many people that have fished out of there and so many different captains. I was brought here by Jimmy Albright. But, basically, at that little marina, as I said, we've got 45 boat captains, 15 employees, and, we've got party boats, charter boats, backcountry boats. You can rent a rod, buy tackle, get fuel, stay in a room, eat at the restaurant. There's a lot going on that little piece of property.
My home away from home, Pines and Palms. Once again, on my visit to Islamorada and the Florida Keys, we stayed here at Pines and Palms. It's just, again, old school, old Florida, remarkably beautiful facility that has basically rebounded impressively well after the hurricane. So when you're coming down Islamorada, definitely check out Pines and Palms. So the production team, we go to Lazy Days and I meet up with Chef Lewis, bring him our bag of Spanish and Cero mackerel fillets, took the bag and said, go sit down, we'll be serving you soon enough. And it was unbelievable when they dropped that platter of fish, cooked a wide variety of different ways. Lazy Days, without a doubt, if you had a bountiful day in the water, bring them some fish, enjoy dinner that night, you will not regret it. If you're a history buff, especially if it relates to salt waters, and you're into diving, and even if you're not into diving, you have to make a stop at the History of Diving Museum in Islamorada. Really mind-boggling to see how they used to do it in a day and how things have advanced. A remarkable property that is really incredible with a lot of features.
Well, it's interesting here. You can stand here on the dock and you can see egrets and ospreys, occasionally even an eagle, beautiful crystal clear waters, reefs and what have you. And what I like about eco-tour, the word itself, eco. These are the things we need. And eco-tourism, when I hear those words, it's healthy. And I like having it here. And it blends well with Islamorada and the sport fishermen.
George's Tackle Locker, brought to you by King Sailfish, the pioneer of catch and release mounts. Visit kingsailfish.com.
If you trailer your boat, especially over long hauls, keep it at a marina or in the water periodically, it's going to collect its share of road grime, bugs, greasy smears, and more. These items can be a royal pain to get rid of. When I need to clean up any hard residues after a trip, I'll rely on Starbright's Ultimate Extreme Clean to break it all down and simplify my job. Extreme Clean doesn't contain caustic or dangerous chemicals, so it's safe to use on all metal, fiberglass, plastic, chrome, stainless, and leather and rubber surfaces. And it's phosphate-free, so it's safe to use on or near the water without worrying about any runoff harming sea life. Its special chelating agents break the bond that hold dirt and stains, bringing such grime to the surface where it requires less elbow grease to eliminate. Simply spray the area and use a sponge or brush or cloth to spread it evenly. Let it work for about 30 seconds before lightly wiping away and rinsing with fresh water. Stubborn stains may require a second application. Starbright's Ultimate Extreme Clean is yet another worthy product to help minimize the labor spent and keeping your boat looking good.
Mercury Performance Stats Islamorada. Seas 1 to 2 feet. Power, triple 350 horsepower Mercury Verado outboards. Props, Mercury Inertia Eco 16 by 21 inch pitch port and starboard. 16 by 22 inch pitch middle outboard. Consistent cruise 4,600 RPM. Speed 46 miles per hour. Total miles traveled 45. Total fuel burned 37.5 gallons. George Poveromo's World of Saltwater Fishing, proudly brought to you by Starbright, professional grade boat care products. Papa's Pilar Artesian Crafted Rum, never a spectator. The Florida Keys and Key West, come as you are. King Sailfish, the pioneer of catch and release mounts. Visit kingsailfish.com.
What an exciting trip to come back to Islamorada post-Hurricane Irma and to spend a day with Richard Stanczyk, again, sharing a pastime that he and I both enjoyed going way back in the days of Miami's Biscayne Bay, catching Spanish mackerel, and applying that nostalgia to catching Spanish mackerel in the backcountry behind Islamorada in the Florida Keys. It just shows you that the fish are back here, and it could go from picking off a few fish here and there in a slow day to totally gangbusters when it's right on and solid.
And you know, what a pleasure it was to be able to be out there with George and to stumble into those fish and catch as many as we did and just have such a wonderful time together. It really, really, really was special. One I won't forget.
Without a doubt, Islamorada has so much to offer saltwater anglers, and I can certainly vouch for that. And I was just thrilled to have spent the day with an icon, Richard Stanczyk, that probably knows more about a wide variety of saltwater fishes around the Islamorada area than anybody that I know. Just a fun guy. We share a lot of fishing history together, and to be aboard a boat with the icon of Bud and Mary's, that certainly made my trip to Islamorada that much more special.
Stay in touch with George. Visit GeorgePoveromo.com. On Facebook, Facebook.com/George.Poveromo. On Instagram, @GeorgePoveromo. YouTube, George Poveromo TV. And on mobile devices, Waypoint TV.